My name is Lucas Carter, and for most of my life, silence has been my closest companion. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind. The kind that fills a room even when nothing is moving. I'm 27 years old and I work as a mechanic in a small town in Oregon, the kind of place most people pass through but never stay. I fix engines that don't want to run anymore, cars with stories no one asks about, machines that still have life in them, even when the world has decided they're finished. I think that's why the job suits me. I live alone in an old wooden house just outside town, surrounded by tall pine trees and narrow roads that disappear into fog by evening. The house belonged to my grandfather. After he passed, it became mine, not just the walls and roof, but the quiet memories too. Every day looks almost the same. I wake up before sunrise, drink coffee that's too strong, go to work, come home tired, sleep. No chaos, no surprises. And for a long time, I believed that was enough. That night, the rain had been falling for hours. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, relentless. I was in the garage behind the house, working under a flickering bulb, my hands buried in grease and rust. The radio played softly, some old song I'd heard 100 times but never really listened to. Then I heard it, a knock. At first I ignored it. People don't knock on my door late at night, but then it came again, quieter this time. It's almost unsure. Something in my chest tightened. I wiped my hands and walked toward the front door, the wooden floor creaking. Beneath my boots, when I opened it, cold air rushed in. Along with the smell of rain, she stood there, soaked, shivering still. Her hair clung to her face, her jacket darkened with water. She looked like someone who had walked too far without knowing where she was going. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I know it's late. My phone died, and I didn't know where else to go." Her voice wasn't desperate. It was controlled. But her eyes told a different story. I stepped aside without thinking. "Come in," I said. "You're freezing." House felt different the moment she crossed the doorway. Not louder, not brighter, just awake. I gave her a towel and made tea, something warm, something human. She sat near the heater, hands wrapped around the mug, shoulders slowly relaxing as the warmth reached her bones. Her name was Emma. She didn't explain everything. She didn't need to. She'd trusted the wrong person. Ended up stranded. Until she saw light. That was enough. I told her she could sleep on the couch. She thanked me like it meant more than just shelter. That night, I didn't sleep much. I lay in bed listening to the rain, aware of another presence in the house. Not a threat, not a burden, something else. Something unfamiliar. Morning came quietly. Sunlight filtered through the windows, soft and pale. The smell of coffee filled the kitchen. Emma stood there, wearing one of my old sweatshirts, sleeves too long, hair still slightly damp. She looked peaceful. We ate breakfast together, talked about nothing important, whether towns we'd lived. In music we liked, but beneath the surface, something was forming, a comfort neither of us expected. Before she left, she paused at the door. "I don't usually trust people," she said, "but thank you." And then she was gone. I stood there longer than I should have, staring at the empty porch. She came back 3 days later. This time, she knocked with confidence. She brought coffee. "I thought you might like this," she said, smiling like she belonged there. That was the beginning. Not a spark, not fireworks. Just a slow warmth. She started visiting on weekends. Sometimes during the week, she'd sit in the garage while I worked, sketching quietly. I learned she was an illustrator. She drew emotions more than faces. She told me the city felt loud, too planned, too controlled. "Here," she said once, "looking around the garage, I can breathe." I didn't tell her how much that meant to me. Days turned into weeks. The house changed. The silence softened. The air felt lighter. The nights felt shorter. I started waiting for her knock without realizing it. And when I did realize, it scared me because connection means risk. And I had spent years avoiding risk. The kiss happened on a rainy evening. She was standing closer than usual, talking about how her family expected her to go back to a life she didn't choose. "I don't feel like myself there," she said softly. "But when I'm here, I do." I didn't answer fast enough. She leaned in. The kiss was gentle, real, unplanned, and everything shifted. 3 days later, her past arrived in my driveway. A black SUV, a man with authority in his posture. Her father. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He took her with him, back to expectations, control, and a future already written. Emma didn't fight. She just looked at me once. Before leaving, and that look stayed with me, the house returned to silence, but now it felt cruel. I went back to routine, but it didn't fit anymore. The garage felt empty. The nights felt endless. I told myself it was temporary, that some people are only meant to pass through. 3 weeks later, I heard the knock again. Same sound, same pause. I opened the door. Emma stood there, dry, calm, certain. I left. She said, "I chose my life, and I chose this." I didn't ask how hard it was. I stepped aside. She didn't move in all at once, just slowly. A toothbrush, a sketchbook. We didn't promise forever. We promised honesty, and somehow, that was enough. Looking back, I realized it wasn't about rescue, it was about recognition. 2. People who didn't know they were waiting until the knock finally came.